Mhm.
So, welcome, Jeffrey. I would say thank you for agreeing to do this episode with me. And let's get started with saying, how about you just tell us again a bit about your background and how you got started, and where do you work as currently? Let's start from there. That would be a good point.
I currently work for Telus Digital, which is a startup within the Telus Corporation.
Uh huh.
So it's a mini startup within a big organization that is supposed to transform all of the old the Telus ways into a more digital way.
So you guys only work with Talus, or do you guys do external clients too?
Depends what you consider external clients, but they're like external. Like we acquire external customers. So like
Okay.
we just recently acquired I think it was a health company or was it a security company? So we acquired them, but now we branded it as Telus. So
Oh, I see.
kind of external, kind of not external.
So you guys are taking external and making it internal.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. And why don't you tell us, guys, like what do you work as and everything?
I currently work on the billing and payments team.
Uh huh.
Um, so all mainly all the authorized so the regular customers on the My Telus, which is I guess as everybody knows is my account,
Yeah.
with the login environment. I mainly work on the billing and payment side. So everything to deal with how much you owe Telus and how much you want to pay Telus
Mm-hmm. I
in
see.
a nutshell.
That's great. So let's talk about how you got into this industry. I've talked to you before. I know that, but I wanna go over through it again because I feel like it's one of the important things we need to highlight. So why don't you just tell us about your journey?
Wow, it is a very interesting journey. So I remember back a long time ago when I was in high school, I took computer science, thinking I would have been great, and I passed I think grade 10, but with like 60 or 70%. I forget what it was.
Uh huh.
Took it again the next year. I just knew nothing. I bombed it completely. I didn't know if statements. Oh, sorry. I only knew if statements and for loops.
Uh huh.
I had no idea what a function was
Yeah.
and all the other stuff. So after that, I was like, nah, screw it. This is not for me. I'm never going to go back into the, computer programming days.
Yeah.
So, go along my ways. I went to baking and pastry. So I went to George Brown for a year for a pre-employment baking and pastry.
Uh huh.
Um, Finished that, and then I went to work for a company called La Roca Creative Cakes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then that environment is it wasn't great at the time because you had to work like from, I think it was 7 or 8 a.m. until the work is done.
No matter how long does it take.
Yeah. So the longest I've worked was 18 hours in
Wow.
one day. And then I think I got home at 3 or 4 a.m. And then I woke up at 7 to go back to work. And I worked like 12 or 13 hours again.
Oh my God.
Uh, yeah. And so I thought to myself, this isn't paying me enough to do what I do. And then so I was talking to someone there. They got me into a company called Magna, which is an auto company that like builds cars for all around the world. But
Yeah.
I worked for a subsidiary company called P&F Tool and Die, which is basically a press shop and a welding company.
Mm-hmm.
I worked there for, I think it was 3 years, but there's no AC, so summer really sucked, which is great because nice and toasty in there. But summer was just brutal. So because it's a welding company and a press company, all the
Yeah.
heating gets centralized in one specific area, plus all the heat and the humidity from the outside, and that's where I worked.
Oh wow.
Like it was just sweat all day. Um, and then I realized that like I was talking to some of the supervisors, they said they didn't get the positions for like 10 or 15 years. And I thought to myself, it took you 10 to 15 years to get a supervisor, how long is it going to take for me to climb up this journey
Mm-hmm.
to like get paid more? And then at the time I thought to myself, you know what, this is a dead end job. It's going to take me forever to get to like I'll be like 80 by the time I hit like just slightly higher than supervisor or something.
Yeah.
So I said, screw it. At the time, so I work out a lot. At the time, I was talking to a friend who helped me with an injury, who did like, just a bit of massaging.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, I like helping people. So why don't I just, help out people by like either being a personal trainer or like someone like him who helps people through like their injuries by like massaging the deep tissues and everything.
Yeah.
And also at the time, my brother who works for Shopify was talking to me, you can get a job in the tech industry because especially when I joined, it was like really booming.
Yeah.
But then I thought, I don't want to sit behind those cubicles for the rest of my life. It sucks. It's boring. No one wants to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then I think I thought to myself, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna take this leap of faith. I went to a hacker's nest, which is like a meetup with like a bunch of people that are all in the tech industry, and then you get to network with people.
Yeah.
It just so happened that there was a school called Lighthouse Labs,
Yeah.
and then my brother who went to, I think it was called Bitmaker, he's like, Lighthouse Labs are pretty good. So I tried doing free code camp, had no motivation whatsoever, and I said, let me just take this leap of faith, and I jumped into Lighthouse Labs, praying really hard that it's going to work out for me. Luckily for me, it did work out, but the 2 month of coding bootcamp that I have was brutal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
It
can imagine.
took me, I think, a little over a week of like 12-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week, to learn the dot notation for JavaScript.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was so confused as to like what the hell dot notation was, and it took me forever to figure that out until one day it just clicked. And my journey to Telus Digital was after I graduated from Lighthouse, I went to a meetup uh, with someone called Akbit Nazari.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may know him. He's like the founder for TechMasters. He works for NPM. He works for a lot of people, helps a lot of startups. He joins a lot of talks about Node.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw him at a meetup. He was talking about benchmarking. And then after the talk, I asked him, like, does Telus Digital hire juniors? He's
Yeah.
like, yes. And I'm like, well, I'm a junior. Do you want to hire me, even though I just graduated? He's like, sure, send me your resume. I honestly did it not expecting to get a job at Telus Digital. So I think this was back in February of 2016 or 17. I forget what it was. And then, a couple months went by and there's no response whatsoever. And he messaged me again, I think, was it April, May? He's like, how much PHP do you know? I'm like, I know the letters PHP. I know it's a language, but that I don't know anything. He's like, well, we have a senior PHP developer. You want to apply for it? I was like, screw it. Worst comes to worst, I don't get the job.
Yeah.
He's like, cool. Your interview is next Wednesday. And it was a Friday. He's like, build me a project over the weekend. I'm like, what? So I built a project off of CodeIgniter, which is what they used at the time,
Yeah.
which is like kind of, if people know React, is like create React app. Builds a very quick template for you that you can just like build off of. So I did that. I built a bunch of things. It was a quick shopping cart type of thing.
Uh-huh.
And then come Wednesday, I did the interview. Finished the interview. The only tech question I got asked, thankfully, was what's an MVC?
Okay.
And I was like, model view controller, explained it, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And then after the interview, I emailed the 2 interviews. I'm like, it's great to meet you. So I think I had another question. I forget what it was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I got no responses. I messaged Ahmed about 3 weeks later. He's like, I asked him, like, what's up? I got no replies from anyone, either to accept me or reject me.
Yeah.
Nothing. He's like, hang on, let me go ask them for you. And then he comes back a week later. He's like, so the position actually got filled. But luckily for you, we have a junior React developer. And so, luckily he's just like, you already did great in the interview, so you're accepted.
That's nice.
And then so I joined in. I didn't know at the time, but I I asked someone at the time. They said I was the last junior to get hired at Telus Digital at the time.
I see.
So yeah, and someone from my cohort who went to Vancouver was the second last, which is
Okay.
very interesting when we talk to each other. But yes, that was my very long journey to get into a developer and into Telus Digital.
Well, now that's pretty interesting journey because from coming from a place where you actually do not like computer science to end up actually working in computer science, I want to talk about
Yep.
the roller coaster of emotions and a kind of motivation you need to actually, first of all, go through that grueling code camp, the boot camps, because I know they are, because they just congest all the knowledge in 2 months and you just got to pick it up,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
tell me something about like how were you feeling while going through the boot camp, and specifically I want to know about, so if you look at right now the job market, everyone's kind of scared, due to COVID and everything. It's, even if it's the market is not due to COVID or anything, when you're are looking for a job, it's a kind of an anxiety you go through, right? That you're applying, you're
Yes.
not getting a response. So talk me through what was going through your mind and what helped you to push through that phase.
Well, luckily for me, my cohort was pretty small.
Uh-huh.
So I think we had 12 at the very beginning. Two didn't show up because one had like an accident.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one just didn't show up, even though it cost like $10,000. So I'm like, why don't you show up? It's a lot of money. Like if you're
Yeah.
rich, fine, you get that pass. But then it went down to 10, and I think two of the people who were there, they just struggled so much that they had to drop and roll over to the next
Cohort.
cohort, which is 2 months
Mm-hmm.
later. But luckily, Lighthouse was nice enough to keep them in our cohort so they get to learn, right? And then they get to reapply it again the next term. So we're down to 8, and so we were a very tight knit group,
Mm-hmm.
right? We would all go up for lunch, and then at like 8 p.m. we're all dead tired, and we're like, "Yo, you tired? You tired too? Yeah, let's do push-ups."
Oh, I see.
So we just did push-ups like 8 o'clock, and then just to get the pump, just to get the blood rush in, and then we just had fun as a group.
Yeah.
And there's also an iOS cohort that we mingled with, and then there's also our community manager who is just new, started at the same time as us,
Yeah.
called Izzy. Very nice guy, very fun guy. Some people may or may not know him. He travels the world sometimes to talk
Mm-hmm.
about businesses, but he basically meshed our two groups together. So it turned from 8 to about, I don't know, 15, 16.
Yeah.
So it's a relatively small class for two classes. So luckily, like we all had fun. We all, you know, helped each other through the thick and thin.
Yeah.
So when I had questions, I would go be like, "Hey, can you help me with this? Because I have zero clue what the hell I'm doing."
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was like week 2, 3, and 4. But as time goes on, when everything started clicking, it became easier in the sense that some things were easier to pick up. But then when they give you a brand spanking new concept, you're just struggling to figure out what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
So all it really was is you really had to put in the time. I live a 1.5 hour, TTC/bus ride from school to my house. So that's 3 hours a day of traveling back and forth,
Yeah.
plus 12 hours while I'm there. So that's 15 hours days
Yeah.
of just grueling. And sometimes it was 6 to 7 days of about 15 hours a day.
Did you
Yeah.
ever feel like giving up during that time?
Oh, yeah. I was talking to my brother. I'm like, yo, I'm an idiot. I'm stupid. I'm never gonna understand any of this. I don't even understand what the hell dot notation is. I'm like, I'm probably gonna have to roll over to the next one because I'm an idiot. And he's like, no, you're not an idiot. You just don't understand it. Keep going through it. Like he said, worst comes to worst is you do roll over,
Yeah.
right? So I literally just grinded it out until things finally started to click.
Hmm.
Like, for some people, it clicks right away,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe within a day or two. Some takes longer, but my
It's okay.
suggestion to you is it's okay. Some takes longer, some are faster, but screw them. It's all about you. It takes
Yeah.
however long it takes for you to click, let it click.
Yeah. I mean, this is what I like about when I was listening to your journey. This is what I liked a lot. Like, usually people say, stick to it. I mean, mostly it's those people who get it pretty easily and they tell other people that, yeah, you'll get it one day too. And the thing which comes into mind is that, hey, you got it already. You don't tell me, okay?
Yep.
But when it's coming from a person like you who actually is saying that it didn't click for me the first time, but you are telling that stick with it. That's what
Yep.
it's important here, right? Like, you gotta from what I take from your journey is like grind through it, like stick with
Yes.
it, don't give up. Right?
Yeah. Don't give up. Like I know people who did give up, and then it you're literally losing like $10,000 for like, especially if you're doing it now.
Yeah.
Especially now the trying times and our economy is going down the sinkhole.
Hmm.
$10,000 is not a cheap amount. It's like for the general population, $10,000 is definitely not a cheap amount.
Oh yeah, yeah. 100%.
So yeah, just stick with it. Like honestly, ask questions. It could be the dumbest question you think you're asking to someone else, especially if they have the knowledge, but ask the question anyways, because it's all about you and how you figure things out, because they figured things out their own way. Maybe
Yeah.
they asked questions, maybe they didn't. You don't know, but ask questions. Like even still now I ask questions
Oh yeah.
as a current transitioning intermediate developer to a senior developer. I still
uh,
ask questions. I still have imposter syndrome.
by the way, congratulations. I didn't know you were transitioning to a senior, so congratulations, Jeffrey, on that.
Well, I'm told that I'm supposed to get it
Well, you'll
sometime
get it. You'll
early
get it.
next year. But when I go into meetings, everybody introduced, like my manager and my product owner introduced
Yeah.
me like, yeah, this is Jeffrey, the senior developer. I'm like, title, according to my title, no. But the work I do, yes.
Yes.
So yes.
Well, no, that's great. You'll the title will also get there.
Hopefully.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But yes, that's what I actually wanted to discuss. That what about, tell us about how, so what do you think was the major thing helped you get the job? I understand that it was I want to actually what reflect here from our conversation in that aspect is the importance of networking, importance of going
Yes.
out and putting out in front of people. Like you, as you just said, that you went to that meetup and you met that guy who was worked in Telus. It one thing led to another thing, but the first step was you
Yep.
actually getting out of your bed and going to that meetup. So why don't you just talk to us about that, and that'll be really really great example.
So at the time when I graduated, like I did a couple of interviews at the time.
Yeah.
Like one tech interview was like, write me a recursive function. I'm like, I literally just graduated. They gave me a 1 hour lecture on what a recursive function is. That is it. I'm not going to be able to write this for you on a whiteboard. So no. little to know, like I failed it miserably, didn't pass,
Yeah.
whatever. Their loss.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like, you know what? I don't even know what the hell a recursive function is. So I took it upon myself to like start learning some computer science stuff, so like recursive functions,
Hmm.
and like some of the more current fads, I would say. So at the
Okay.
time, React was relatively new, and Flux as a concept is kind of old, but Redux was relatively new.
Hmm.
And state management within React and Redux was like the big thing. So I started learning Redux, and then I'm like, screw it. There's a meetup about learning something. It's only 1 hour of my time,
Yeah.
and it's free. I'll join it. So, I just took it upon myself to try to be a sponge, soak up whatever knowledge I could think of,
Hmm.
and just learn. Just because the more you know, even though you're probably not going to remember like 80, 90% of the talk,
Yeah.
in the back of your mind, it's there. Whether you want to pursue that specific path that is up to you. But like benchmarking, I know about it. I don't work with it, but I still remember it, even though it's been
Yeah.
like 3 years. Yeah, like just learn whatever the hell you can. And like when you go to meetups, if you've just graduated, you're more than likely to be one of the most juniors there. You literally he will basically be speaking gibberish to you, he or she.
And that's okay, right?
It is. Like it's kind of like you've seen TV, you hear like the mumbles in the background, and then just one word pops out at you, be like,
Yeah.
benchmark. And everything else will just mumble. And then like sooner or later, you'll just remember whether you pursue it more, up to you. But after the meetup, you have, I don't know, 20, 30, 10 people, however many is there. You can talk with them, right? They may be the hiring managers. You never know. They could be a senior developer who are looking for junior developers who they want to mentor at a company. You never know. So like, just talk to them. Like worst comes to worst is you've made a new friend who just who ghosts you sometimes, but may help you get a job.
Yeah.
And that could be like 30 people who potentially gets you a job, and who knows. And even, especially now, like if the person you just talked to got you into a company, but their company went down now, right, just due to COVID, maybe the next person you talk to be like, hey, I'm looking for a job. We've met at this time. I know this much more now.
Yeah.
Are you looking to hire?
Yeah.
The person may say yes.
Right? It's all about putting yourself on, like asking it, right?
Yeah, you basically are selling yourself to the world.
No, yeah, 100%. But I mean, still, it takes like I can see when you're freshly graduated, there's a thing in your mind that, oh, should I even ask? I don't even know that much. That you talk yourself into not doing it. Did you ever felt that?
Yeah, especially like I graduated roughly, I think it was early January, like from January to February.
Yeah.
I was I basically mentally blocked myself from doing more. But I'm like, I need to get my ass off the bed because I need a job. And I was getting no jobs from, like, I applied to a million places. No one was answering me. So you literally will have to get out of your bed. And I'm an introvert. I'm also a very shy person. Let's just say that. Like, it took a lot of guts just to go out and even talk to two people out at that meeting.
Yeah.
For some of you who are listening, you may, it might be better for you. You're a very outgoing person. You're great at socializing with people.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at that. The basic conversations are, hello, how are you? Great, cool, move on. That's basically my conversations with people that I don't know about. Like, I don't go in depth into their knowledge. So for me, it was very, very hard, very brutal for me just to like sell myself out to people. But you gotta find the guts.
Was it worth it?
It was.
That's all that matters, right?
It was worth it. But like, even the people, like someone from my class, he works for Amazon.
Yeah.
Right. I tried interviews with them, failed miserably, but whatever. It's different. Still Telus Digital.
That's a part of the process, right? I mean,
yeah.
No one gets it on the first thing, right?
Yeah. So, you do the tech interviews. Even that's a learning process, whether you succeed or not, right? Because they may ask you questions that you have zero clue about. The next time you go to the next interview, you'd be like, oh, the person asked me this question. I know how to solve it now.
Now you know it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's easy to solve because now you know the answer.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. So Jeffrey, you've had so much ups and downs. Like it wasn't like a straightforward journey. It's not a typical straightforward going to school, graduating, and then just getting a job journey. So if you were to think about what would you say was your favorite failure? In the sense that you hated it so much when it happened, but now you love it and you are grateful that it happened.
Failing the recursive function interview.
Really?
Yes. The reason I hate tech interviews, like whiteboarding, so much.
Yeah.
Honestly, in like 90 to 95% of the companies, in my opinion, you're never going to use a recursive function. So why the
Mhm.
hell do you even ask it?
Yeah.
Like you don't really need to know the sorting algorithms because it's already done for you. So why do you even ask that?
Yeah.
But they asked it to me, failed it miserably. So the reason I say it's like my favorite is because at the time I was just sweating buckets. I had no idea what to do,
Hmm.
and I failed very miserably. As soon as I walked out, I literally took my phone out. I Googled how to do a recursive function,
Hmm.
and that kind of became uh, my path to wanting to learn more.
I see.
So yes, it was bad because it feels bad to fail anything,
Yeah.
especially a tech interview for a job. But what came out of it was my desire to learn, which is what I'm grateful for. Because due to that, I've wanted to learn more. I've written one recursive function in my 3.5, 4 years of development career,
Yeah.
and it was just for a side project, just for the hell of it. I wrote it,
Yeah.
and nowadays, especially at work, I'm always trying to learn more. Like I didn't know anything about JSON web tokens, JSON web signatures, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I spoke to people. I'm like, teach me this.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like 2 years into my job. There's so many things you don't know. So I wanted to learn more, and I still do. Like even 4 years, I'm pretty sure, hopefully, for the next 20, 30 years, I want to learn more. So that became my journey to what I am now.
No, that's amazing. Like, because most what happens usually is if I put into my that place of me failing a tech interview, which I've done, is that
Yeah.
first thing which comes into mind is I suck. That's the
Oh
first
yeah.
thing. That's the first thing which comes into mind. But what I like about your interview, what you're talking about is that you actually moved it into a positive way.
Yes.
That rather than coming out and thinking, because what happens, like what it had happened with me too, is that if I did bad in an interview, I would come out and continuously think about the question. Just
Yep.
think about it. Oh, I should have said that. I should have said that. But what I like about your approach was that you actually went into the future, be like, how to do this, and you learned it.
Yep.
That's
Basically, yeah.
yeah.
Like, yeah, that's I I I know my girlfriend who I met at Lighthouse Labs.
Yeah.
So for some of you looking for girlfriends who want to go into coding, who might have the same interest, bootcamp might be the
Boot
option.
camp. Even if you're a
So
developer, go to boot camp.
exactly, you might get a girlfriend there. If you're single only, bootcamp, $10,000 girlfriend. um, so yeah, she did do an interview before,
Yeah.
and it was an Apple developer who asked her a question. He's an ex-Apple developer, sorry.
Uh-huh.
Asked her a question. She failed it. I think she failed it miserably, from what I
Yeah.
remember. But right after that, we literally paired on how to solve it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I could have just been, "Oh, you failed it? Cool. Let's go home. Let's go
Mm.
have a comforting meal or something." But no, we literally stayed for the next hour trying to solve it in different ways.
So that the next time the question comes in front of you, you know.
Kind of. I don't think they're ever going to ask me this because not many. You don't really need to sort too much out as a web developer. Maybe
Oh
as a
yeah.
as a native developer, maybe.
Oh yeah, yeah. But it's I
But
feel like what I've seen in us as developers is that whenever we see something which we cannot solve, it kind of bothers you, doesn't it? Like
oh yeah,
you want to find out the solution. Like what is it? Like I want to see how is it done, right?
yeah. Like there are times where I spend literally a day on an issue at work,
Yeah.
can't solve it, and then I would walk to my girlfriend's to pick her up.
Yeah.
In that walk, I am thinking of like how to solve this issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
What if I do this? What would happen if I tried this? What if I tried this? Maybe this wouldn't work. Maybe this will work. And then, just go through all the potential different ways. Be like, oh, this might have worked. And then
Hmm.
you go back to work the next day and try it and everything fails and you rinse and repeat the cycle
Until you find the solution, right?
until something finally works. It may
Yeah.
be hacked together, but something worked.
Yeah. Okay. So Jeffrey, let's talk about the present. So if I ask you today, what would a good day look for you? Like, what is your example of a good day? Obviously, in this working from home situation, it'll be a bit different, but sure, we want to know.
on a good day, it would be uh, probably a day with no meetings because I hate meetings and I get a lot of meetings sometimes. And it's a day where I could just, so we use Jira. It would just be just me, pumping out Jira tickets
Yeah,
and
yeah,
doing code.
yeah.
Just because I still like coding, even though I am, doing more of like the planning stuff,
Hmm.
but I still like the coding aspects of it. So it would probably be a day where it's no meetings whatsoever, and it's just me just doing code all over and just doing Jira tickets because that's more satisfying.
Okay. What about out of work?
Well, now that the gyms are closed, I would
Yes.
very much love to go to the gym.
Uh-huh.
So it's time to start getting ready into it because, as the name COVID-19 means, is everybody just gained 19 pounds. I'm in that part too. But yes,
Okay.
I try to be active.
Uh-huh.
Um, but then, that's only like 1 or 2 hours a day at best. And then I just play games just to de-stress or
De-stress.
watch stuff on YouTube, whatever it
Hmm.
is. But mainly
Yeah.
gaming, just because that's been my life since I was a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, just gaming.
I see. Jeffrey, if you were to say what resources you would suggest to a person, say fresh graduate out of a boot camp, now into this market, what resources helped you and you would suggest other people?
Ooh, that is a very good question. It, I guess it also depends on your path.
Hmm.
So, like, if you want to be more of like a database developer,
Yeah.
you would have to, go towards that. But like, for someone who wants to do database and someone who wants to do like front end stuff, don't do both at the same time.
Hmm.
Focus on one first.
Oh yeah,
Let's just say that.
that's a solid advice. Yeah.
I made the mistake. I went both ways, and that was terrible. Like,
Hmm.
I knew every time I got asked a question, I knew nothing.
Yeah.
So focus on one first. I would say that. But I would say a good resource is look at the current market.
Mm.
Like, if React just started coming out now, and that's the big thing, and every company is, wanting to migrate to it,
Yeah.
find any React documentation you can think of and just do it.
Mm.
Um, and especially as a fresh graduate, I would say go on GitHub, look for open source projects, like, and then ask, I'm a junior developer. How can I help this open source project?
Mm.
Right? So that brings a couple things to you. One is you're doing coding, which is what you paid money to do. Two, you're literally selling yourself to the market, right? And open source could be used by, I don't know, 1 million people
Yeah.
around the world, right? You may be in Canada now, but someone from Switzerland wants to hire you,
Yeah.
and they'll pay for your moving expenses. So that's a plus. And three, you have senior developers all over the world be like, as part of your pull request, be like, hey, why don't you do it this way? Because this is, faster by like, 20,
You're getting
20
feedback.
milliseconds. Exactly.
Yeah.
So just go to open source of roughly like the projects you like
Hmm.
React is open source. You can help them out. You can, yeah, just sell yourself to the open source market.
Yeah. Well,
That
that's a
is,
pretty good advice. Yeah.
yeah, I would suggest that actually.
Hmm.
I wish I knew that. Or you can just go to meetups and
Yeah.
network.
Going to meetups and talking to people, right? I mean, putting
Yeah,
yourself out there again.
yeah, but just more locally instead of worldwide compared to like an open source.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
um, so Jeffrey, let me think through the question. So if you would say one thing which you would tell yourself as you're graduating, say I tell you that you get a chance to talk to yourself when you were graduating the boot camp. So now the present you
Yep.
can talk to the past you. What would you tell yourself?
Ooh, I would say don't stress as much as you are now.
Hmm.
It if you grind through it, it will get better, right? And never stop learning because there's so many things out there that you can learn, like
Hmm.
different techniques, different methods. It just never ends. So keep grinding away. Don't stress as much you are stressing now, especially with the money bit, and keep learning. is
Hmm.
what I would say, because the world is an ocean of information,
Yeah.
and you're just a little droplet in it, and you're just slowly taking it in.
No, that's a pretty solid advice. Yeah. Jeffrey, do you ever, I mean, I guess it will be more past and present question. How do you tackle the days when you don't have the motivation? Like, how did you deal? Like, what was your mindset? How did you put yourself in the mindset, say, when you were looking for a job, that when you didn't have the motivation, but you still went up, like you still got out of the bed and got after it?
I would say don't get distracted. So I was always doing code in my room,
Mm-hmm.
and in my because I didn't have a work area. So in my room, right beside me is my gaming PC.
Oh, I see.
So as I would do like 5 minutes of work, game for 2 hours. Five
Oh.
minutes of work, game for 2 hours. So I was like, I need a job. I'm going to be a bum for the rest of my life, and I don't want to rely on, you know, trying to collect EI from the government. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to rely on my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I basically just got up, drove over to Starbucks, sat there and did work.
So you
Right?
used to go to Starbucks for working?
Not anymore.
No, no, I mean like before.
When I needed to get motivated, yes. But when I did work, because I got to go into the office.
Mm-hmm.
That was my motivation there. If I was in the office and I wasn't as motivated, I'd be like, you know what, I'm going to the gym
Mm.
because we had a gym in there.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
just went to the gym for an hour just to, work off the stress.
Rather than sitting there and wasting time, you would be rather, I mean, like work out the stress off and get yourself back to the track, right?
Yes.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
No,
And then if I got back from the gym and stressed for another 1 or 2 hours, I would ask the senior developer like, "Yo, I just can't get this answer. Can we
uh-huh.
like pair for like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes to be like, because I really need help and I can't solve it on my own."
Yeah, yeah.
And then they'd be like, "Yeah, just give me like 5, 10 minutes. Let me finish this up." And be like, "Cool." So we pair, and then sometimes even the senior developer doesn't know. We pull off a third one, be like, "We just can't figure this out.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you have any ideas?"
Yeah, yeah.
So like it could be a stupid question, but like some
No
people just
question is stupid, is it?
it well well
Well,
yeah, for the most part, like I would say as a junior developer, no question is stupid. Always ask questions, no matter how dumb you think it is.
hmm,
Like honestly, I didn't even know what status codes were when I first got in. They're like,
hmm.
yeah, put response dot status is 400. I'm like, what the hell are you smoking? I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. So I'm just like, what's the response status? And then they tell you, and then you just learn from it, and then it just becomes knowledge like the back of your hand after a while.
Hmm.
So yeah, that would be my thing. Just don't get distracted if you are looking for a job. Also the same while you're on the job.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, ask questions if you are getting stuck and you're getting frustrated. Ask questions.
That's good.
Even juniors might give you you know an idea that
Yeah, yeah. You can
you
learn
should
from
try.
everyone, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like there are times where I mentor juniors. I'm like, oh, why didn't I think of that
Yeah.
at the time? So there are things that they've learned from someone else that can apply to you too. And you're
Hmm.
talking to a junior, you'd be like, don't have um, that ego that you are superior to someone that has a lower title than you,
Hmm.
because juniors are great too because they soak knowledge from all around them,
Mm.
which could be a senior that is much smarter than you.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't have that ego.
Hmm. No, that's a pretty solid advice. Jeffrey, if I would ask you, what's one bad habit you're working to fix? What would that be?
Stop getting distracted.
Oh, okay. I guess that's a long
Yeah,
journey, eh? That's never gonna go.
it is. Yeah, but like, because the thing is, Telus is somewhat of an easier company because they're corporate.
Uh-huh.
That I sometimes have the luxury of getting distracted.
Yeah.
But like, there are like startup companies who are people who work 12 hours. They can't afford to get distracted.
Mm.
Like, luckily for me, I do have somewhat of that luxury
Hmm.
to get distracted a bit. But I would say the reason I I can get distracted more now is because there isn't much work-life balance nowadays, especially in the COVID-19 times.
Yeah.
Like you just can't go out to go have fun now,
Hmm.
right? So that's why I'm like, what if I get distracted now? I'll make up for it, later in the day. Work
Yeah.
until
Yeah. Yeah.
6
Yeah.
p.m., 7 p.m. just to make it up.
Yeah.
So, but I know that it's not a great habit.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I feel that notion. I've been doing that last week. Take naps in the afternoon, be like, I'll work in the night, and then I stay up working up till 12. Don't
Yep.
get enough sleep, and then I'm cranky the next day. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
this sucks. This sucks.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, don't get distracted, I would say. But obviously, it's hard when you're working from home,
Yeah.
especially if you got kids.
Oh,
That's a whole can of worms you don't want to open up.
oh, 100%, 100%. I can only imagine. Like, it's so tough. No, that's
Yeah.
that's a good one. Jeffrey, if I ask you, tell me about one thing that you're really proud of, but you don't really get to talk about it. What would that be?
It depends. Do you mean at work or in life?
Let's take life. Let's leave work away.
Hang on. Who's calling me? Give me. Um, I would say my weight loss journey.
Oh, I see.
So I used to be pretty chubby. I used to weigh 230, 240 pounds with
Oh,
just
okay.
pure fat. And then I've taken, like, if you look at me, like in like in real life, you won't know that. Yeah, I used to be a super chubby person.
Oh yeah, I've
Just
seen you. I've seen you. I mean, come on,
you've seen me,
you're
but for
fit.
the listeners who are
Oh yeah.
listening, they have not seen me. So yes, I used to be a very chubby person. Yeah, I look fit, but like if I'm wearing like winter clothes, you're not
Yeah.
gonna know that I worked out. But like I used to be a very chubby person, and I took it upon myself to get off the bed, stop being
Hmm.
distracted,
Hmm.
to go work out and lose weight.
Hmm.
And so I've done that, and then I got fit.
And Jeffrey,
And
was that before you getting into coding boot camp or after?
yes,
It was
it was
before.
before it. It was a, probably 3 years before my coding boot camp that I did my weight loss journey, because I had a long vacation from my other company,
Uh huh.
and I think I took 2.5 weeks or something like that, and then I had nothing to do after the first week, and I was so bored out of my mind that I was just like, I need to lose weight. And so I watched a show that it's like one of those, pop singers in
Uh huh.
an Asian country. And I'm like, God damn, he's so young, and he's so much more fitter than me, and he's more popular than me. I want to be like him. And
And
so that became my journey
that's interesting. So Jeffrey,
to my current loss.
my question would be, do you think that you going through that weight loss journey, what you learned about yourself, motivating yourself, helped you during your journey of coding bootcamp and finding a job?
Mm, I don't think so, to be honest. Like,
No?
because I might have put some of the bases into it, but because of the weight loss journey, it kind of made me not want to go into the coding boot camp, because I wanted to pursue, the fitness path
I see.
rather than the development path. So that was kind of a blocker for me. But you can apply some of the mentality, like
Yeah, yeah, that's what I
of the
wanted
work,
to.
yeah, the working out mentality. You can use that, because literally lifting like the 12th rep is like a grueling, painful task. But
Yeah.
your mindset is like, I need to try to finish this. So you like grind it out.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
that's what I meant. Like in terms of like, because you have developed your mindset, right? When you went through the weight loss journey, you developed your mindset of not giving up. So when you actually went into the coding journey, you had that mindset. Your muscle was already built up of that not giving up. I'm just wondering if that helps or not.
mm, it does, until after a while, like your will can only take so much.
Oh yeah,
But if you're at a coding boot camp, I would say develop your friends there, because your friends help motivate you too.
I see.
It's not, yeah, it's part of a solo journey, but like during that solo journey, you make friends along the way, and those friends are the ones that help you now and in the future, potentially. So find decent friends, I
That's
would say.
actually really, really nice advice, because as to say that find people who are in the same journey as you, right? Because
Yeah,
if you run out of motivation, you can use someone else's.
exactly. And like when you're both out of motivation, you kind of both just jump together to try to motivate each other to bring it back up, because you both know you're struggling so much to be like, you would talk it out, and then potentially that brings the motivation all the way back up to like even a higher level. You never know.
No,
But
that's true. Yeah.
I mean, I got my girlfriend there, so that was motivation too.
That's extra perks right there.
Exactly.
No, that
But
is
yeah,
true.
like maybe you do that.
Yeah. Um, Jeffrey, okay, so say if you step into my shoes, what would be one question that you will ask yourself that you would want listeners to know? What would that be?
One question to ask myself. Um, that is a very hard question to answer and ask. um, I think it would be uh, how motivated are you to keep grinding out this journey?
Hmm.
The reason is because a lot of people, especially if you're doing it now, people develop a bubble.
What kind of bubble?
So, like, there are PHP developers. They
Hmm.
only want to do PHP, but now that it's phasing out, it's not as popular as it used to be. Are you going to stay in that PHP bubble, or are
Hmm.
you going to burst that bubble and find other things? Because that bubble might pop because the company is going down, or they're like, you need to learn something else, or we will have to fire you.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of people turn it into the people don't want to be motivated to be like, I need to learn the newest fad. So like
Hmm.
React or um, even a new language like Erlang, Go, and stuff like that. They just
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
be like, I want to stay as PHP. And they've been in that industry for like 20 years, right? Just in the same, doing the same thing, same coding things every single day for 20 years.
Yeah.
They're not motivated to do anything else. But if you're motivated to like, soak things up, so like learn a new language, you could jump from company to company if you really wanted to. You can even earn more money. So does money not motivate you?
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? So I would say, how motivated are you currently?
Hmm.
Right? Because if you have no motivation to burst out of your current bubble, you might get lucky that you get to stay at the current company, but it depends how tied down and boring your life you want your life to be.
Yeah.
Right? So motivation will bring you to higher levels, more money, and better things. Meet more people too.
And more content life too, right?
Exactly, because now you have a bigger skill set to apply to either at work or go to the next job.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true. No, that's
So
really
yeah.
good. Well, we are almost on time. I don't want to take much of your time. That was a really great conversation, Jeffrey. I'm really grateful that you agreed to join me again. That's really,
No problem.
it was really nice talking to you, man. And
Yeah.
one last thing I would like to ask is, where can our listeners find you if they want to connect with you?
If you want to connect with me, my email is jeffreycj.chang@gmail.com. It's Jeffrey, not ERY, as a lot of people will spell it that way for some reason.
Wait, did I
So
spell it that way too in my
I
text?
don't remember how you spelled it, but a lot of people flip the E and the R.
Okay,
So it's
how do you spell it? J-E?
Jeffrey.
Oh, I see. I'm pretty sure I spelled it wrong. I'm
It's
sorry,
okay.
Jeffrey. I'm sorry.
But if people did want to reach out to me and they tried to spell it the wrong way, then it's a whole different thing.
They'll be
But
talking to some other Jeffrey.
potentially, or just not even a single person. So
Yeah.
yeah, JEFFREYCJ.CHANG at
Mhm.
gmail.com.
Perfect.
Yep.
That's great, Jeffrey. I'm really grateful, and I hope that people can take something out of our conversation. Well, I learned a lot, and I've told you this before, and I want to say this again, that I really like your journey. Actually, it's a prime example of what pure motivation and pure determination can take you from one place to another, which is a really good example.
Yeah, and I'm happy to like talk to other people who are like potentially struggling. Like I'll even go on a meet with them, like maybe
Hmm.
Zoom. Can't be in real life anymore for now,
Yeah.
but I'm more than happy to like talk to people about my journey and talk to them like what can they do about their current situation, how
Hmm.
they can bring themselves back up. So more than happy if anyone wants to reach out and talk to me, whether you're junior, intermediate, senior, or with all aspects. I'm more than happy to help anyone and everyone.
Oh, that's so kind of you, Jeffrey. Really appreciate it. Well, I don't want to take much time off your weekend, Jeffrey. That was really great conversation, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, I'll stay in touch, Jeffrey. Take care.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.